Hello, guys. Welcome to the Failed Kingdoms, the official Failed Kingdoms first podcast. My name is Ari Spivey. This is Brian. I don't want to say your middle name.
It's Brian Grant.
It's Brian Grant. So if you don't know, just a little heads up in terms of what we're trying to do in terms of the Failed Kingdoms podcast. We plan on talking about everything. We plan on talking about politics, religion, culture, whatever it may be. If we want to talk about it, we'll talk about it. Yeah. And so that's the purpose of this. That's the purpose of this podcast. Even in terms of apologetics, on August 6th, we'll have Dr. Josh Rasmussen on the show, and he's going to be talking about his book, him and his wife, on universalism, and that's going to be cool. So keep a heads up, and I'll keep everybody informed on that. The podcast is also going to be in audio form on Podbean, and it'll also be in audio form on SoundCloud, for free downloads and whatnot. So if you want that, if you are a very busy person and you don't really have time to watch video, you can download the audio version of the podcast on Podbean or on SoundCloud. And of course, if you want the video version of it, you can watch it on YouTube.
So there's basically no excuses for anybody out here.
You dang skid.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk about what it is that we actually do in terms of Failed Kingdoms, and so we're gonna talk about what Failed Kingdoms actually means to us. So you'll start. I guess you'll start first. So okay. What is Failed Kingdoms to you, and what does it mean to you?
Failed Kingdoms for me, it started out as a little vision with Ari and what he had going on. I just really thought to myself, well, with the world turning the way it is, I mean, in all honesty, I mean, let's be more realistic. It's like there's just death and just decay, and like there's just all kinds of nasty things, and just the government's twisted, and just people are against everybody. Like, people are saying there's different groups and sides, but like in all honesty, like we're all like against each other, and it feels like the whole world's just turned against each other, mainly the youth. So Failed Kingdoms for me was definitely getting a message out to the youth, because when I was young, Ari was here, that he helped me get through a really tough spot in my life of atheism and all that. And I just really hated God and everything. And I just really thought to myself that, you know what, when you're a teenager, all of us, I can like really vouch for all of us. We all have that thought of like, who cares? Like I mean, what's the point of doing anything? What's the point of living? Like, what's the point of doing this? My main focus and vision for Failed Kingdoms on my part of being in the group is like, I want to reach that youth. I want to reach the next generation coming up, or the generation now, I guess, because we're already old news, I guess, technically. So I really want to reach that one person like Ari did for me. So like, I hope my vision is that I can reach whoever you are. And through my music, through the podcast, through Failed Kingdoms in general, it don't gotta be me. Hopefully by doing something together, we could like reach you, just that one person. So just to let you know, you're not alone, and that we see that there's a crazy world out here. I mean, even if we're not talking about just teens, just in general. So I mean, for me, Failed Kingdoms is that, you know, there's a crazy world going down the toilet right now, and that's just facts. And nothing that we do is gonna work. So, I mean, yeah.
Well, before I go into mine, like, who are some of your musical influences?
Well, of course, it was Andy way back in the day, 2010, maybe 2010, Andy Mineo. Because when I first like got into it, it was just like well, now Ari showed me way back when we were sitting in class, and he's like, listen to this. And I was like, okay. And I was like, he played me this song, man. I was just like, what? This is Christian hip. This is Christian hip. Nothing that's everybody's like view on Christian hip hop or any other besides the, you know, the worship and whatnot. It was just like, wow.
Wait, I don't even think when we first met, I don't even think Andy Mineo was even signed yet. I think it was Trip first. Yeah, that's the first song that I showed you. I think it was like Snitch by Trip.
I'm a snitch, man.
Yeah, that was the first one. It was like, man, That's a long time ago. Anyway,
yeah.
Cuba, yeah.
Yeah,
Andy Mineo.
No, but that's going on the same topic. Yeah, like it started out with Andy. Like I mean, of course it was Trip, like you're saying, but like for some reason, like Andy, like his swagger, the way he just talked, and just I don't know, there was something about like he just really stuck to me. Like for some reason, it was just like I don't know, like his message was kind of getting through to me. So like I kind of followed from there, and then it was Andy for a little long while, and then until I really got on my Christian path, then I started opening up on more things, which was many years later. I mean, I listened to Andy when I wasn't even a Christian, and like that's what helped me, I feel like, get me on my path many years later. So and then now I listen to Brian T. I mean, I listen to a lot of other Christian-based hip-hop artists. I mean, I don't just stick locally Christian. I mean, I'm just saying, like, I also listen to a lot of other cool R&B songs and whatnot, but I try to keep the secular songs in the past, you know, because it just if it's bringing up old memories, and you know, you're like, so but nah, like I said, I just really listen to more Christian-based hip-hop artists.
I guess we come from, we don't necessarily come from, well, we do come from two different backgrounds. So for me, I still listen to I still listen to secular music a lot. Like I will bump Kendrick like right now. I mean, and the thing is, it's just like I mean, it's not that I necessarily agree with his message all the time. Yeah. I agree with, like it's the very fact that it's not like it's not like the mumble rap stuff. It's like he has something to say. Like it's like, man, he actually has something to say. So it's like that's the thing that really made me like him and draw me to him, and even J. Cole. I'll listen to J. Cole any day. And I know you know Big Crit. He was on Lecrae's album. It was Gravity. Yeah, Mayday. I was like, bruh, he has this song. It's called Crit Here, bruh. Gee, no cussing because he made it for his mom. So it's like there's no cussing in the song, but that's the song. You know, it has that old school gospel kind of feel, but it's like, oh my gee, I can listen to Crit. But in terms of my musical influences, I don't know. I mean, obviously, okay, fine, yeah. Lord forgive me, I just lied. Okay, yeah, I would say probably Trip Lee. Like Trip Lee was my idol back in the day. I remember the first song that I heard from him was like, it was called Give Him Glory. And that was on his first, I think he was like only like 17, maybe 16 or 17. And that song, I was like, ooh, I was really drawn to his voice, because it was I ain't trying to promote self. Like his voice was so different than everybody else's. And I was like, I was just automatically drawn to him. But then in terms of that, I think I would say like my musical influences, or that like people that really made me like fall in love with music, was probably Outkast, probably Ludacris. Oh my God. I mean, he's not like, obviously he ain't the best rapper in the world, but
the swagger,
the way he delivered, delivered his bars, it was like, man, it was so catchy to me. So that's probably my musical influences and whatnot. But in terms of what I want to accomplish with Fel Kingdoms to me, because I came up with the name, but Fel Kingdoms to me, I'm making a statement in terms of what Fel Kingdoms is. So I'm not necessarily it's not an explicitly political statement or something like that. It's not explicitly that, but it is part of that. So if a lot of people don't know, and a lot of people should know by now, that I'm an anarcho-pacifist. Mm-hmm. And I don't believe that the state should exist, and it probably should be abolished. But that's part of what Fel Kingdom stands for to me. So I look at like Samuel, 1 Samuel, and if you read 1 Samuel, it's basically Israel. It goes to, because Samuel is the current prophet at that time, and Israel goes to Samuel. They don't have a king yet, So King Saul is not there yet. King David is not there yet.
with them.
Yeah. So they go to Samuel and they say, "Yo, go to Yahweh.
Yeah, go to God for us.
I want and tell God we want a king."
Yeah, I want a king instead of him.
And so and so Samuel says, "Okay, wait, guys, I don't think you know what you're getting yourself into."
Yeah.
And so, I mean, and they were persistent. They were persistent in saying that they wanted to be like everybody else. And so Samuel says, "Okay, fine. I'll take it to you. I'll take it to God and I'll let him know." And so he takes it to God, and then he lets God know what the Israelites are claiming that they want. And so God tells him, "Okay, wait. Before I ever do that, let them know what's going to happen if they get a king." So he says, "You're like, yo, the king is gonna unjustly tax you. He's gonna take away your daughters. He's gonna enslave your men. Just all of these different things in terms of what comes with you getting a king." And so I was like, man, okay, what is that? Obviously I'm not trying to eisegete the passage. You're trying to say, well, God is an anarchist, but I am saying that just looking at that particular passage of scripture, it's like obviously God didn't approve of it. So God literally, the only reason why Israel had a king was because Israel wanted a king. That wasn't originally God's intent for Israel, for the nation of Israel. And so I look at that and I say, okay, well, God somewhat established the kingdom of Israel, but it was through the rebellion, and it was through the free will of the Israelites. And so I look at that, and I look at like Romans 13, and it says, submit to the governing authorities, and
here we go.
This is a not of God. All this different type of stuff. And I say, well, I interpret Romans 13 in the same way that I interpret 1 Samuel, because it's like, in terms of all of these authorities have been ordained by God, in the sense that human beings were the ones who implemented them and they wanted them to be here. So I see any established human government as evidence that we are currently in rebellion to God's standards of morality, God's standards of justice. And so, also just looking at just thinking about the very fact that, obviously, an orthodox understanding of sin is that all men have fallen short of the glory of God. All men have sinned. And because of that, even within our own institutions that we establish, men are going to necessarily be sinful. And so in that sense, and they're going to be in rebellion to God. And in that sense, for me, that's what failed kingdoms mean to me. So if you are rebelling against God's standards, the kingdom is inevitably going to fail. And not only that, I even think of it in terms of eschatology, where God will necessarily destroy all human kingdoms of the earth and establish His reign on the earth in the end. Yeah. And so that's what I mean by failed kingdoms in that sense. But in terms of failed kingdoms, for me, it's not necessarily just talking about how while we're anarchists and what, like, it's not even just necessarily about that, but it's also about the very fact that it's an admission of our fallen nature. It's an admission of the very fact that we need God, and we need to your will be done, Jesus. Like we are submitting to your reign, and we are submitting and we are citizens of your kingdom, and not earthly kingdoms. We submit to it, and we don't violently rebel against it. But at the end of the day, we are yours, and we are citizens of your kingdom, and we are not citizens of earthly kingdoms. We are just passerbys. We're pretty much aliens. Like, we're aliens in a foreign land. That's pretty much how I see it. And so that's what failed kingdoms means to me, and that's the reason why, like, I keep going. And honestly, you need to check it out on SoundCloud. There's my single that I just did for the Bad Roman, thebadroman.com, for their podcast. It's called The Bad Roman. And that's actually the first song that I've ever made in terms of like coming out as an anarchist in my music. But it's not just about that necessarily. Like we'll probably make music about, love, my daughter, our daughters.
Yeah.
We'll make music about, like, I just released a song called Burning Up, it's about Christian universalism. Like it's just a lot of things, and we do the best that we possibly can to be as real as we possibly can in terms of our music. So that's over with. You know what Felt Kingdoms is about. We're going to talk about what we just brought up as a segue. Brian is a new mother. I'm sorry. He's a new mother. Sorry.
Hey, I know you're going to be watching this. You're like, man, my daddy was so ugly.
Oh my God. No. Anyway, but he's a new father. He just had a daughter with his wife, Lucy.
That's usually what happens when you get married.
I feel
the wife.
I feel. But we want to talk about, and also my wife is pregnant too with with Cam. She'll be born. She'll probably be here around like September 22nd, I think. It depends if she.
The Lord's will, and the Lord's time, and what happens.
I guess so, but she'll be here. She'll be here. But I want to talk about with you in terms of, like, you've been a father for about 2 months now, a little bit over 4 months.
She just turned 4. I told you she just had her shot.
What? Okay, well, 4 months. It don't feel like that. It feel like she was just born.
I know. Yeah, it's flying by so quick, man. It's just. But yeah, what?
So like,
question, I suppose.
Like, what is in the last 4 months? Like, what? Not in the last 4 months. Like, what has anything changed for you in terms of what you deem, like, okay, prior from 4 months ago to now, what has changed in terms of what you deem important in your life?
Well, there was one thing whenever I had when me and my wife had first got married, like, we went through a lot of counseling, and we did obviously wedding and marriage devotionals that we really wanted to come into marriage with the mindset of, I don't know it all. Like, I mean, there's a lot of people nowadays, and I'm sad to say, I mean, there's a lot of you that are, like, got married and they're already divorced, and then you're working on somebody else, who knows. But I'm saying, like, we really wanted to come into the marriage thinking, like, well, you know what, we know that we're not perfect, like, we know that we're gonna have issues eventually, even if we don't have them now, but let's try to, like, at least get a little knowledge. That knowledge might not help, but like, hey, like, what, there's no shame in the game, like, to try to, if this counseling now could, like, give me an idea later that could help me in the future, like, I definitely want to do this. So, like, we came into marriage thinking, like, okay, no matter what happens, like, it's meant for a reason, we just let it go. But, like, definitely before that, when we were still, how can I say it, when my wife was still with child, I didn't know another term. I was going to say that we were pregnant. I had to deal with it too. I had to deal with a wife, you know what I'm saying? But, huh? Oh yeah, it's still there. I got a little something, but like, you keep the figure because the woman like wanted you whenever you were looked that way anyway. So I'm just like,
it's cool with me. Like, with me and Maria, it's like, look, babe, if you don't,
it's too late.
If you don't want me at my worst, you can't have me at my best.
I mean, you wanted it like that, but moving on. Definitely during the time that we were engaged and while Lucy was pregnant, like, we had very strong, like, man, our time with the Lord was so strong. Like, it was a lot of, I won't say soul searching, but it was a lot of God searching. Like, we were really hungry. I mean, both of it. We were hitting church. I'm not talking like the typical Sunday, every Sunday. Like, man, we went Wednesdays, we went Saturday nights. Like, I got involved with people in the church. Like, I started talking to the youth pastor, became friends with people. Like, but yeah, I really tried to widen my views on marriage in and of itself, and like God, and what I could really do in the terms of getting more knee deep in my faith, and along with my wife. So from there, we were really strong going into it before birth, and then it just, I don't know, like, whenever she was born, it just, I don't know, whirlpool of, like, just depression and just frustration. Like, it was nothing like I had really imagined it. I mean, it's different for everybody, obviously. I mean, for men, obviously, but I mean, other men probably have more subtle, like, yes, it's my daughter, yeah. But for me, it was just, at the time, it was a lot of frustration and things I didn't really expect to deal with at the time. And then from there, like, it really like broke me down in my terms of my faith, and it really like made me not really doubt, but it made me feel like, man, what do it feels like nothing I do is enough. Like, I've been like killing myself for so long, like trying to get to where I'm at. And then every time I get to the point where I feel like I'm okay, something comes in and breaks me right back down. And it's supposed to be a happy time, and it just wasn't. And man, God turned me upside down again. And here I am, like, I was all depressed and frustrated. And like, it just taught me another valuable lesson, like patience, and like just have confidence in the Lord. And now here we are 4 months later. Like, I mean, in terms of being a father, like, if it's taken away anything, absolutely not. And like, me and Lucy, like, the night before she was born, like, we actually talked a long talk in the middle of the night. And I said, before she's born, like, I want you to know that I put you first before my daughter. Now, that may be really hard for some people, because it's like, hey, and she just got born. Like, I love her to death. We're going to the moon. But like, at the end of the day, your daughter, your son, they're going to turn 18. They're going to grow up and, leave. You're going to have love. Obviously, there's going to be that love, obviously, undying. But like, it's going to be you and your wife at the end of the day. And like, I want to always focus on my wife first, like, always and foremost, above all things. So trying to keep her happy. If I focus too much on my daughter, then it's just more or less like like, you focus more on her and not me. And then I'm trying to like really do things a lot equal, especially with Fel Kingdom, trying to keep everything together. But really, like, honestly, it's helped me, all this struggle and pain and strife. It's just been nothing but trial and tribulation. It's helped me get to the point where I need to be, and like actually start becoming, joining Fel Kingdoms like I am supposed to be right now. So in terms of being a father, like, it really hasn't done nothing but made me stronger. Is no doubt about it. It's been tough times, no doubt. But here I am. We got everything. Like, we were not like this a few months ago, not even 2 months ago. Like, we've come so far, so far. So don't give up in terms of being a father, especially if you're new in the faith, and things will get frustrating, but like, that's just life. So, I mean, hang in there, and God will show his plan through and through. So
how is it with I don't want to. You don't have to get too deep into it, but it kind of seems like it's kind of been heavy on your marriage too, not just like necessarily with Bree. It's been heavy on your marriage. So like what has happened? Like, are y'all are in a better? I would assume that you guys are in a better place now, because it sounds like that. So like, what was the like what's the thing that like has Bree like drawn you guys even the more closer now since she was born?
For my daughter, I mean, honestly, in the beginning, it was very, very hard. Like, a lot of people, it gets annoying after a while how many people tell you that, oh, it's gonna be hard for a while and then it gets better. Sadly enough, but it's true. It really was. So the first month was really getting used to her in general, and like, we were living at her mom still, like we're married, which means we don't even have our own privacy. Really, we don't have our own space. Like, we don't really have, our baby cries, and like, here comes her mom, and then like, we don't have, like, it was very frustrating, very, very frustrating. I mean, but at the end of the day, we just wanted to, really have our own space. And it was just very hard, having a newborn and trying to learn, about our baby, because every baby's different. Every baby likes to be held a certain way. Every baby likes this, blah, 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 all this stuff. So, I mean, it just really was about getting to know her at first. But then after that, like, every day since, it's just been like I don't know. She's just a part. My daughter is like a part of my marriage. I can't really describe it more than that, but it's like, just like how we got accustomed to living with our wives and being with our wives every day, day in and day out, wake up and go, everything, like, just your everyday normal routine. It's just, it's the same exact thing, but just adding your daughter to that. And now you wake up and there's your wife, but there's your daughter too. And like, there's just, she's just always there. And every day you get to, just like how you have your bad days with your wife, or you know, you have your good days. It's the same thing with your daughter. Some days she's good, some days she's like, man, I ain't having it today. I want, you know, this and this. So if anything, it's just like a relationship. It really is. I mean, obviously, I mean, father and daughter, but like just mother and father, like really bonding with our daughter. Like it's really been a journey. Like it's the same as marriage. It really is. Like it's just a connection that you have, and it just makes you, I have to say, it does make you stronger. Like I'm not the same guy I was, you know, 3 months ago whenever we were really struggling at her mom's house and like, you know, trying to figure out what we're going to do with this newborn baby, you know, when we can't even have our own thoughts or opinions, it felt like. So it's just like, I don't know. Now we have our own place, and, you know, all this stuff is starting to come together now. And then it just feels like, you know, this is what it's like this month, but next month we could be in a whole nother place. So it's just good or bad. But I do believe that this path has really set us on a journey on becoming stronger together as husband and wife and mother and father to our daughter.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I don't even know. I'm kind of like where I am now. I really don't believe that it's gonna really. I don't believe that it's gonna, like, me and Maria, we've been together for, it'll be almost 7 years next year. Yeah, it's been a long time, and it's just like it's almost like we're so used to each other. Cause you guys got married like right off the bat,
Yeah,
like literally right off the bat. Like y'all went on first date and you proposed, but. Like for us, it's just for me, I was like, and obviously because it's like even in terms of, you know, marriages, all marriages aren't the same. So it's just like for me, whenever Camila comes, it's like I don't necessarily think it's going to be a big change, because it's like we're already used to it in terms of her. I mean, obviously it's going to be like, okay, I got to get up a little bit more earlier than.
It's not even like that.
It's like I got to divert funds from what I'm like. Divert funds from what I'm doing now. But in terms of me and Maria's relationship, it's like I'm not sure that it's going to affect it, whatever we have already, because we've had so much time to cultivate a relationship, to find out, to really like truly find out who we are as people, to find out what we like, what we don't like. And so it's almost like we're just adding on another person to that relationship. And so, you know, I'm kind of nervous. I'm kind of nervous because, like, I've never really had to take care of another person by myself. Well, with Maria, but I've never had to take care of another person. So for me, it's just like, I'm just praying like, Lord, please, like, give me the strength, give me the wisdom to to take care of this baby. So
a lot of prayer and like just getting yourself ready for, that's the best thing I could say is like, you just, a lot of prayer and like you just really do the best you can, studying wise, because like when she comes, like it's just gonna be like, okay, what's next? What do I gotta do? And like you just immediately.
So, yeah, I'm kind of nervous about like stepping into like adopting, well, not even adopting, but in kind of inheriting this new responsibility in terms of being a father. But I'm excited at the same time, because there's so much that I've learned in my life, and that I'm still yet to learn, and I have to learn even more. That it's like now, like everything that I learned now, that I probably didn't learn from my parents. Not saying that, that they're, bad parents, but they just didn't know everything, just like I don't know everything. Yeah. But I feel like now I can kind of I've adopted certain ideas, and I've inherited certain ideas from other traditions, other ways of thinking, that I can probably just pass down to Camila, that my parents never gave me. And then on top of that, I didn't have my dad growing up, but now, Camila is gonna have her dad in her life growing up, and it's like, man, that's like now I feel like, man, I can kind of correct course, I can kind of correct history for what happened to me. And I'm not saying that I'm not downing my dad, but It's just the very fact that I didn't have them. I didn't have them growing up.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
the
now I
same.
just feel like, I can kind of correct something that happened in the past now with Camilo.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you already know that I've already gotten it so many, even before, right before she was born, and obviously all the way up to now. I get the, well, what are you gonna do when she gets a boyfriend? Oh, when are you gonna let her date and stuff like. I mean, honestly, it's just probably an add-on, but I mean, it's just like honestly, like I don't know. It's just like I think to myself like, well, if this little dude is willing to step up to me I'd say about 15, 16. I mean that's kind of where you start getting a brain somewhat, not much but some. And I figured I'm gonna let my daughter date because it's just like I don't want her dating every single guy obviously and stuff like that, but like if this guy is respectful enough to come up to me and talk to me and my wife, and either you have to be putting on a really good act or something like that, or I mean, I don't know, but at the end of the day, I gotta trust the way that I raised my daughter. I mean, I don't want her to be so free spirit to where she out there, wilding out, but at the same time, I want her to, feel like she can come to us and be like, look, hey, I mean, I'm a little embarrassed, but like, I'm talking to somebody, and I'm like, okay, well, he got to come through, because like, I mean, I'm not gonna approve unless this and this. Like, y'all can date and stuff, but like not. I mean, this going behind each other's backs thing is kind of that's a no go for me. So I mean, I don't mind if she started around 15, 16, and I don't know. It's just that thought of like either you let them or they're gonna do it behind your back, and then you're gonna find out, and then you're gonna be really mad. You're gonna have to be that dad, and you're gonna be like, no ma'am, no more. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, like even now, like, are you gonna whoop her?
I don't know. The only way I would ever, because I've seen kids like it. We know we, but we honestly, it would have to be if they did something life threatening, like something where I couldn't even control my emotions, not just because you want to just. You're that kind of parent that you just flip off the edge that quick, just for no reason. But it's like, man, you told her before about not standing by the road a million times. Okay, yeah, she don't listen. Okay, hey, come on, okay, she still don't listen. Okay, but this time she stood this close from getting clipped by a car. What is wrong with you? Like, there's nothing like, just snap. I mean, it's not like across the face. It's not like that. It's just like I don't know what kind of weapon I would give yet, but like definitely some kind of punishment of some sort, because I feel like those big moments, like she wouldn't understand those big moments unless you made some kind of a statement like to show that you really messed up this time. Like I talked to you 100 times before, but this time is different because this is what I was trying to prepare you for. So like, I'm not really sure. It'd have to be in that moment, because like even I probably wouldn't even know. I would have to talk to my wife. What are we supposed to do? Like, this time is different. What are we supposed to do? I mean, what do you think that you would do if it was Cam?
I mean, man, it's so hard. It's so hard because like I'll tell people straight up that like, yo, I don't think Jesus like command or even allows for people who follow him now to engage in any violence whatsoever. Yeah. And it's not just being a pacifist towards the government. It's also being a pacifist towards people in interpersonal relationships, and even in loving thy enemy and loving thy neighbor. I really take that seriously. Now obviously I've heard so many people say spare the rod, spoil the child, and all this. They allude to particular passages in the Old Testament and stuff, and it's like, well, I kind of like retroactively exegete my way out of it because of Jesus. So it's like, for me,
changes all of it, yeah.
So like, yeah, so it's just like, if I were put in that, I wouldn't justify it, but I know for a fact that I might hit her at some point in my life. I'm not going to justify me hitting her, and I'm going to have to like man up and apologize for putting my hands on my daughter.
Like straight up, I'm going to smack you, and then like, okay, no, tell her you're sorry, honey. Hey, no, she did wrong. I don't care about her. Like, no, like, you need to toughen up. It's not like that. It's just, it's like you're saying, like, yeah, definitely like whoa, like, yes, that was wrong of daddy. Like, he's like, I'm very sorry. Like, I really am. But honey, you didn't. I mean, we're human too. Not to make it right, you know.
And I try to make sure that people understand, like when I talk about pacifism, everybody be like, there's a lot of people be like, well, you know, I gotta defend my
Gotta get my gun ready.
yeah, I gotta defend my daughter and make sure that she doesn't get harmed and stuff. It's like, you actually think I want to be like, you want my daughter to be harmed? That's not what I'm saying at all. Mm-hmm. But it's just the very fact that, like, I'm absolutely sympathetic to the very fact that I understand that if someone cannot adhere to like this strong moral ethic, well, this ethic that Jesus taught, and they feel like they have to violate that in order to in terms of self-preservation, I'll be like, yeah, it's completely understandable. Not necessarily saying that it's justifiable, but it is understandable, because, you know, we have this innate desire to preserve our own lives. And in the same way, well, not in the same way, but in a comparable way, in terms of whipping your kids, like, you always hear people, like, when they try to justify, you know, beating their kids, they tend to say, well, like, that's the only way that they're going to learn in some way, shape, or form. And it's like, well, I get it. Like, I really do get. Yeah, I get why they say it, but for me, it's like, well, like Jesus, like Jesus, like what did he say? And it's like, and does that loving thy enemy and loving thy neighbor, like, does that apply to your children as well as President Donald Trump, or as, you know, as the person down the street? Does that apply? Does that loving thy neighbor standard and loving thy enemy standard, does it equally apply to your children? And it's like, and if you wouldn't whoop your kid, I mean, obviously I understand, you know, there's a different relationship in terms of your kids and, you know, and a person at a grocery store. You wouldn't like spank, you wouldn't like hit somebody in the mouth, somebody at the grocery store, because they didn't follow what you told them to do. Obviously I understand that there's a relational aspect to, you know, parenting that people think justifies like corporal punishment, but I don't actually think, like, just honestly, personally, I just don't think it justifies it. And so I really don't know, man. I hope I don't. I hope I never lay a hand.
I don't want her to be in a situation to where, you know, but I mean, if we're gonna like be just like you're saying, like, just being realistic, it maybe one day it's bound to happen. I mean, I don't want to speak it on myself or on Bree, but it's just like, I mean, at the end of the day, I just want what's best for my daughter. I don't want it to become a habit. I don't want anything like that. I mean, we know the way we want to discipline her, but like hitting and all that, like, I've just seen kids get like that or get that, you know. And then I've even disciplined some kids myself, and, you know, years ago whenever I was still young, but like I'm still, but anyway, I'm still young. But anyway, it's just like I don't know. It doesn't work all the time. Sometimes, like, this one time I actually sat down and talked to two children, and like they were like, well, we still act up because, you know, you whoop us and, you know, you just being mean to us and you don't really talk to us. And like, these are just boys that are 5 and 7. And it was like, man, like, I never knew that kids just have that mindset. Like, they can understand. They can. But like, you have to take that time to sit down and talk to them and like be 100%. I mean, at the end of the day, they're still kids. They're worse than us, you know, when it comes to temptation. Like, they're kids. So, like, kids are bound to sin. Like, it's just how it is. But like, I mean, in all reality, it's just like, I don't know. One day it's coming, and you just don't want to do it. But like, you're just gonna do the best, what you feel like is best at the time for your baby. So,
yeah. I sincerely hope I don't. I sincerely hope that it never gets to that point. Like, even in terms of, you know, like, I hope it never gets to a point where I cause physical harm, like I physically aggress upon somebody else. Like, I mean, because I know what Jesus says. You know, obviously, I'm not trying to make a defense for my position, but I'm just telling people what I believe. And it's like, for me, I honestly hope that I never get put in a position where I have to, like, I either have to choose my life or my daughter's life or somebody else's life. I really hope I never get put in that situation, because I really don't know what I'm going to do. And it's like, Lord, I'm praying and I'm asking you, like, Lord, like, Holy Spirit, like, strengthen me to like be able to follow like the ethics that Jesus put forth for me, like help me do it. But in those times, in those situations, it's like, look, if somebody break in my house, I don't have a gun, and I don't have any. I mean, I got knives at the house, but that's that's for filleting fish,
like, somebody, there's your family, your wife and daughter at hostage, and like, what if they do whatever they want to do, and you're just supposed to stand there and like, I mean, it's a tough one. It's a really tough situation when we get into that.
Yeah, it's I don't know, man. I really don't. I just pray to God that He never puts that my circumstances never involve those really hard situations, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to be faithful to Christ's teachings, and just to be honest with you, but that's all we got. That's all we got for this one, man. Yeah. Well, guys, thank you for listening to the first Fell Kingdoms podcast. Be on the lookout for the second one. I don't know when that's actually going to come out, but we're trying to at least put one out once a week, or maybe once every 2 weeks. Who knows? We'll keep you up. We'll keep you up on that situation. Make sure you follow the Fell Kingdoms Facebook page. That's where we're going to have a lot of the updates posted. And and make sure you stay on the lookout. We're going to have Dr. Josh Rasmussen on the podcast talking about his new book. Brian, thanks for being on. We'll see you next time.